later. For now, just tune in. For you guys, awesome job so far today. I know you guys have played full out, and I've heard some really great kind of feedback from those that have, got a lot from it so far. So well done playing full out. It's going to make a massive difference. We've got Sam that's finishing up a call, so he can just jump in whenever he's ready. The purpose behind why we're doing this, and thank you guys for jumping here, and Alex, I just put him on the panel today, he came on as an attendee. Thank you for coming down, guys, appreciate that. And the reason that I have these 3, soon to be 4 people kind of sitting up here is because they're getting great results from the process. And I know it's a lot of the time from me preaching to you guys, it can seem a little bit like what I'm saying makes sense, but there's a disconnect because of the level that I'm at, because I'm a long way away from the start of the process, because I started 4 and a bit years ago, compared with you guys being brand new into the process. Whereas what I think is valuable hearing from these 3, soon to be 4 today, is that they joined just like maximum amount of time, just over a year ago. So all fresh, all new, all dominating, doing very well, making consistent sales in the process. So we're going to break down, and I'm going to ask questions that we'll kind of pass along and get them all to answer one by one. And then after I've kind of gone through a few key questions, like we'll be up here for a solid 60, 90 minutes, then I'll hand it over to you. And whatever you kind of want to ask to someone in particular, if their business resonates more with yours or whatever, you just ask questions that you kind of want to know their direct experience of, or how they're running things at the moment. Now, these guys might be, I think it's not a huge gap. The gap's not as big as what you think. And I know, because I've seen each of these guys start the process, I know where they've started, and the same headspace that you're in is where they were. So let's just learn from that, and it's gonna help. Can you jump up, Sam?
Sorry.
No stress. Come and jump up. Chat with his mate. Cool, bro. So the first thing I'd like to kick off with for everyone here, and also we've got 4 spare chairs, so 3, Dean, Gary, Trent, come down and fill those 3 seats as they're a little bit further forward as well.
Hello, mate. It's a good quad.
You guys got enough space? Just about.
It's fine. It's fine until massive Brent sat down.
They're connected. These guys are connected. All right, cool. So let's kick off first and foremost by talking about just a quick little overview of when you started in the process, how long ago you started in the process, where your business was at then, where it's at now, what you actually do, and some of the guys come in now. And the main things like, what does your business do? Where did you start? Where are you now? And then everyone will have a brief understanding of what you actually do. So what you do, like who do you work with, what's your niche, and how do you get them results? So everyone can kind of understand what's going on here. Nick, kick us off at the end, man.
So I do body transformations for men. When I first started, I was doing personal training.
And how long ago did you start? Sorry, is the other one?
I started in September last year.
Awesome.
So 13 months ago.
Yep. Just signed up for your second year as well?
Yeah, I just signed up like a month or 2 ago.
Yep, awesome.
Yeah, so it's very similar to what I did with PT, but instead of running the sessions, I just supply the programming and support to get results.
Awesome.
Yeah, for men, body transformation, so fat loss and muscle gain together, or whatever your goal is, we factor it in for what you're trying to achieve.
Yep. And so where were you when you started in terms of results with your PT business, and where are you kind of now?
Yeah, so with PT, I wasn't doing like badly. I was fluctuating between 1,500 to 2K a week as a PT, which is like okay to above average for a PT.
Yep.
And then I slowly transitioned away from that into this when this wage started overtaking that. Mm-hmm. And then when they were even, I was like, what the hell am I doing PT for? Dropped it, did this full time, and then just got heaps of results, but only because I had more time to do work to get results. And then since then it's kept going up and up.
So what do you mean by that? So you have more time to work on the business versus in it?
Yes. Yeah. So like when I was doing PT and this one, I was struggling to book in pitches and booking calls because I had to run sessions in the gym. Mm-hmm. But since I had no more sessions, I didn't have anywhere to be, per se, I could book pitches in whenever I like. So more pitches, more sales. helping more people, more money.
Awesome, man. Thank you for that. Well done so far. Ricky?
Yeah, sweet. So it was pretty similar timing. Like I've just ticked over the 12-month mark. Obviously re-signed for another year. In terms of what I was doing before this, so I was running a completely different business. And
What was your business, Rick?
So it was all around barbecuing. It's really random. I'm really into barbecuing, so essentially,
It's actually a successful business and he's actually fucking good at it. So.
yeah,
awesome.
I used to do barbecue competitions, and it was a coaching business, but the result was how to cook a steak rather than change your life. So I'd do live events every weekend. I did heaps here in Melbourne, so I'd get 30 people in a class, teach them all the stuff. I had a membership site, so yeah, it was kind of there was stuff there that I learned that made this easier, like the coaching. So I had a couple of clients on the side because when I started that business, like I used to be an engineer, so I didn't know anything about running the business.
What's that engineer?
Civil engineer. I used to build roads. If you want to know anything about roads, I'm the man.
So good.
So when I started, I was like, right, I've got a business coach, I've got all this coaching. So I did a lot of stuff because I really wanted to nail the barbecue business. And yeah, we've got it to a pretty reasonable point. Like we hit 6 figures in under 12 months, which wasn't too bad for cooking steaks, I guess. But I started coaching on the side because just some people locally saw what I was doing in the business, asked me about, my coaches, and they couldn't afford them. So they asked me if I'd coach them. So I had a couple of clients on the side and not all of them were paying. Some of them were like swapping, like they'd give me their services, etc. So when I started here, I'd only really had a couple of clients. I nearly went completely cold turkey. There was a few little barbecue things that were still booked in that I couldn't get out of, but essentially I probably cut 95% of that business off straight away as soon as I started. And yeah, started into this. I forget what else I have to answer.
So where are you at now with this?
Oh yeah, and what I do. So
What do
yeah,
you actually do?
that helps. So, so basically, I train male business owners, and it's all about their mindset and performance. There's business strategy in there as well, but it's mostly around up-leveling them, removing kind of all the bullshit in their own head, blocks, anchors, all the other sort of stuff, and yeah, up-leveling their performance. And as I said, there's a bit of strategy in there, but it's more giving them the power back because they know the most about their business. So if we can really transform them, that's what's going to get them the biggest results.
Awesome. And you're at a point now where you're making and doing consistent.
Yeah, I've kind of really been working on consistency, especially the last few months because I had a kind of fairly up and down start of the journey. Some weeks, I'd get 15K in sales, but then the next week I wouldn't get any sales. So now kind of consistently sort of hitting, 5K is my minimum. I never want to drop below that where I'm not getting that, but we're pretty consistently hitting, like 5 to 10 every week. And then we've got our other weeks that are bigger as well. So,
Awesome. Yeah. Good job. Thanks, Ricky.
Alex, hey guys. I'm about 2 months into my second year. I started my...
Pretty much started at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Pretty cool. It's pretty
Yeah. I'm a little further ahead in that I started in March last year, but I did my first year and then I went on a 3-month trip around the world and then I started again sort of in September. So I'm in my second month of my second year again. I started off running cooking classes. I was a chef for about 10 years and I was running cooking classes for a bunch of people. And I had the realization that a lot of people don't know how to take care of themselves with really simple day-to-day stuff that came naturally to me. And I was blessed to be in a family where we were all healthy. So I decided to try and teach people how to just basically look after themselves. Bit of a kind of a Jamie Oliver kind of vibe, just like eat right kind of thing. When I got in contact with Winning, they designed this concept of being a health coach and getting out online and reaching the masses. So I started doing that, and that was a really tough process of transitioning from being a full-time chef to actually learning online business, that kind of thing. But as it's evolved, my program's evolved into a really beautiful way of getting mostly mums back on track. So rather than being a sort of fitness program, because I'm not a personal trainer, I'm yeah, stop it. I'm about helping ladies who are kind of, they've got kids, they've got busy lives, and so counting macros, counting calories, all that kind of stuff doesn't really work for them anymore. So I'm about how can we get your life back on track? How can we get you in the right mindset, the right nutrition, the right exercise that'll help you be the best mum slash partner slash whatever you can be. And it took me a while to break through because I'd done nothing in the online space ever. But after a while, I started making a couple sales, and now I'm on a consistent sort of 2.5 to 6K a week of sales, which is great for me. I paid for my whole overseas 3-month honeymoon with the business while I was overseas. I was able to make a couple sales, and my business maintained that whole trip for us, which was really cool, with just a little bit of delivery to clients. And that was my whole dream coming in, and now I want to actually just expand that to the point where I'm Sam Brent, essentially, is what I want to get into.
You've done.
I know.
Just
Segue.
Pressure on.
That's where I am now. Yeah.
Thanks, Sam.
Perfect segue.
I know.
Great job, Alex. Really well done, man.
Thanks, man.
And I think it's cool to see how, so you're not a PT, not a fitness coach, so you've got a very specific skill, which is the cooking side of things, but we've still been able to make that profitable.
Yeah.
And I really like that. Well done.
Next, Jamie Oliver.
100%.
Even sounds like it.
Hello, lovely people.
All right, Sam, kick us off, man.
Yeah, so, hey guys. My journey prior to starting winning was a very interesting one. I basically spent about 3 or 4 years as an entrepreneur, budding entrepreneur, just about cutting along the road, just breaking even. Luckily, my wife stayed with me throughout that period for some reason. But it was interesting. So I'd kind of already made the transition from being a personal trainer, which is where I started, to going into the online world. After I studied NLP, I realised that the real need and the women had to actually kind of fall in love with themselves, and as a consequence exercise through love of self, not hate of self, etc. And instead of fueling their emotion through wine and alcohol and stuff, they could not have the need for doing that. So I'd already started on that route, but the biggest fundamental issue I had before winning was that I just didn't understand, or I had no concept as to how to generate leads at will. I just wanted I'm very AD, very auditory, digital. I'm not very visual, whatever else. I just like to know what to do and have a set structure as to what to do. And so for me, I just really wanted like a quantifiable way of generating leads. I've never been short of working hard. I just wanted a way that I knew that if I mastered this technique, I would have 10, 15 leads a day, every day. Leads come in while I was sleeping, while I was awake, and that was just taken care of, so that I knew that the foundation of business is marketing. If you don't have leads, then you can't sell. If you can't sell, then you can't deliver, etc. Right? So that was the main reason I watched it. It was a set of videos that I actually watched from Ryan that just made complete sense when he said, if you put $500 into a cash machine and you get $5,000 out, he just spoke my language. Right? I kind of just got that metaphor, and I was like, all right, I'm in. So I was already in, and then the guy that, this is a funny story actually, that attempted to help onboard me into the program actually started to, I was so in that he used so much pull energy, and I kept saying to him, will you just tell me the cost and I'll pay it? And this went on for about 45 minutes, so it was interesting. But ever since then, it's just the whole of my life just completely and utterly changed. To be honest, like I technically started in September, but through one reason or another, changed niches in December, not through not working hard. I launched like 9 campaigns in 10 days, I remember distinctly, so I changed for other reasons than that. But then having changed back to the niche that I'm with now, which is essentially females between the ages of 25 and 50, who want to really become the best version of them, really. That's ultimately the people that I look for, or at least not the best version of them, but at least evolve and become a better version of them, being an example for their children, etc. So, and since December, it's just been incredible. Like, I've just had the biggest month that I've ever had, which was my first 6-figure month, which was last month, which was like amazing. And consistently 10 to 15K a week every week as a minimum, which is really cool. So, that's in a nutshell.
And one thing that I remember distinctly with Sam, which is Are you okay with me sharing
Yeah.
the Hawaii kind of story and whatever?
Go for it.
Yes, when we were in Hawaii, which was the retreat that we did in end of November, start of December last year, Sam and Jenny, so Sam's wife Jenny, they just had, well, when did you have your first baby?
Well, she'll be 3 in December, so
Okay, cool.
nearly
So
3
you had a
years.
baby. She was there, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah.
I bought them both, yeah. Oh, I needed something.
The thing that I remember that was crazy about it was that there was so much stress and pressure on the situation to break through because of that period of entrepreneurship beforehand, of the 3 to 4 years or whatever. And Sam actually borrowed money from Jenny's dad to be able to fund the start of this, so really put himself backwards. And it was just, there was so much tension in the family, and there was like little tiffs and arguments while I was presenting. It was actually quite odd. So I was presenting on stage. Imagine I'm presenting here and there's like Sam and Jenny like arguing in the back of the room. Like legit, that's how much pressure there was. And I was like, fuck. So I pulled Sam aside and we went in for a walk into a field that was outside the conference room and just sat down and just had a chat and just like recalibrated. And at that point, it was, I just want to make this work. I just want to do the work. I'm in debt. Help me. And that was November, December last year. And so it's been less than 12 months since then. And 105K last month. It's pretty amazing. And the reason why is not because there's anything different or special, it's just because he followed the process. And that's why I wanted for us to do this today. Because each of these 4 guys have just done some incredible things over the last 12 months, but not super complex things, just basics. And these guys genuinely care about you as well. It's like these guys are following my footsteps, you guys should be following these guys' footsteps. And like Sam, we had a chat last week and he's like, I just want these guys to do the work. I just want to help. Like Ricky messaged me, he's like, I've been thinking about how we're going to approach this growth hacking day. Like, let's do this breakthrough and let's do this because he cares. And like these guys genuinely care about you. We all do. And so just by learning, and I'll ask some questions, put it to the panel, so to speak. And I just want you to all realize that there is nothing different about these guys, me, or you, which is what I said about claiming the gift at the start of the day. There genuinely is, there's no difference other than the work gets done. That's it. So thanks, Sam. Well done. And well done to all of you guys. Real guys here. Let's give these guys So the first thing that I want to put to you all is, and this is just to help everyone realize that it's not easy, is what was the hardest thing for you to break through doing this process? Like, what did you find the hardest? Was the marketing, the sales, owning your program, building the content, doing videos, like the marketing side of things? What was the hardest part for you, starting with you, Nick? What did you find the most difficult?
The easiest cooking call is by 100 million miles.
Talk to us about that and how you overcame it.
Yeah, so I don't know, it might be my personality or what I've been through in the past or whatever, but I used to struggle so much with booking calls. I just felt like every time I was calling someone, I was interrupting them or annoying them or trying to sell them something, and I just felt like a shit person for doing that. Like, don't call me, I'm busy, go away. But that's not what it is. But because I thought that's what it was, I did less booking calls, less pitches, less sales, less lives changed, less money. So you have to do booking calls. And I think James helped with this most. You not understand the reframe of it. It's not, you're not annoying anybody. If they opted into your content, they've given you their real number. If they didn't want you to call them, they would have given you a fake number. You don't need the phone number to get the ebook in the hook funnel process. So they gave you the real number on purpose so you could call them because they're in pain. So just understanding that they actually want you to call them, that's why they gave you the number, just makes it less stressful. So you're not annoying them, you're helping them. You're not selling them, you're helping them. So it's not an annoying or thing like that at all. And then once you get over that, or once I got over that, I made more booking calls, made more pitches, made more sales. That's easily the biggest thing I've overcome.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. Because put your hand up if you also kind of have a sticking point with booking calls to a certain degree. Yeah, that's awesome. And so, like I said, these guys are exactly the same. They've just gone through it. That's all. That's the only difference. And how long did it take for you to make that transition
between finding it difficult and having that association and then having a little bit more of an empowering association?
It's been a growth. So, like as well, I think the longest time I went without making any booking calls was like 5 weeks or something. I haven't told Ryan that.
It's okay because it's normal.
No booking calls at all for 5 weeks. So obviously no pitches, obviously no sales. So that's a bit shit because why are we here? To make sales and change lives. So if we're not booking calls, we can't do it. I wouldn't say that I overcame it fully until like very recently. Maybe like the last few weeks, I guess.
Awesome.
But just only because it's been a continual growth of understanding that these people need your help. Nothing has changed massively in the past few weeks. It's just what I said before is really solidified in my head. Like these people need my help, and if they're angry on the phone or they're like, "I'm busy, what do you want?" That's their problem, and I've just called them at a bad time. I'm still doing the right thing by trying to help this person by calling them. Even if I call them at 2 a.m., it doesn't matter. I'm calling them to help. I don't do that, but I'm calling them to help them. So there's no bad intention at all from my end. So
Yeah. But is it nice to kind of hear that, you know, even up until recently, even though Nick's one of the superstars in here, he still battled with booking calls. Like, that's not abnormal. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, even if I was to do booking calls right now, I'd still be nervous. Like, the only difference is they still do the booking calls. You know?
that 13 months of struggling with booking calls.
Yeah.
And in 14 months, I only just got over it fully in my mind. So
Yeah.
over a year to get over that.
It's liberating, man. Thank you for sharing. That's really awesome. Yeah.
Probably, if I was to pick the biggest thing, was probably, it was interesting that you talked about this morning, is the belief. And I don't know whether it was because I hadn't really actually trained too many people before I went into it, but that was a really big thing for me. And obviously when we were, you know, chatting at the start and chatting to the team and my price point of 5K, I was like, oh, no way. Like, that's way too much.
You were helping people that were working with you because they didn't have money and they wanted a cheap gig, right?
Yeah. And there was, I'd run like a tiny little thing, and it was like, I was just charging them nothing for it. So when it was like a 5K program, I was like, holy shit, like that's crazy. And having that belief that like I was worth 5K and they were going to get the results was probably my biggest challenge. Then that was kind of one that I was facing right at the start, I guess. And the main way I got around that was tying that belief to a belief that I already had that was rock solid. That's something that I do and that I get my clients to do as well. And it was kind of what we were doing in the testimonial video. But if you want to get better at something, right? So say I wanted to get better at golf. You know, I wanted to be the best golfer, Australian champion. There's only so much I can sit on the sideline and read books about golf and watch videos about golf until I need to grab the fucking club and get out there and start swinging it. And so although I didn't have the belief maybe on exactly, you know, am I good enough for the 5K, am I going to get the results, I knew that the only way like to become a better coach was to get clients and start fucking coaching them. And that if it wasn't working, that I'd just solve it. And I'd talk to my coach, or if it still wasn't working, I would have bugged you and be like, I've got these people and they're not getting results and I don't know how to fix it. I knew that I'd do that. So even though I didn't have a belief yet, I guess, that it would all work, I had all of those things, and I knew that I'd get better through just getting clients and getting them in the program, and that was the way to make the program the best. So that's how I solved it, yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. Dude, well done. Alex?
Yeah, it's a good metaphor, that.
Yeah, I like
Steal
it.
it.
I actually stole one of your metaphors with the ship and an anchor.
Oh yeah,
That's a good one.
So thanks. Ricky's fault. Alex, talk to us, man. What was your biggest problem of sticking point? How'd you get through it?
Ricky kind of stole mine, but I think we're all in that as well. I think what happened to me was because I came from a place where I owned a cafe and I was working in good restaurants and I was making okay money, and then I kind of attached a lot of self-worth to that, right? And I had super easy childhood, super successful dad. I attached my worth, how good I was, to how well I was doing in that process, right? So when I came into this process, and at first I quit my job and, you know, I put down a deposit and I'm, paying for ads and paying to go to Hawaii and stuff, and money just going down, 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 my self-worth is attached to that. And so I'm on that spectrum of, okay, I want to help these people, but why on earth would they give me, I was just charging like $2,000 at the beginning. Why would they give me $2,000 to help them be healthier? And so what I did was I worked all the time because I felt like that was proving I was good at this, you know. So I would get up earlier in the morning, and all day I'd sit at my computer and I'd stay up late at night, and I wouldn't let myself go to bed until I'd finished some fucking funnel or something. And I felt like this was the way you break through, and this is, you know, even though I'm not making money, I'm a fucking hustler, so it's fine, you know. And I just crushed myself over and over again, and it compounds. So the worse you think you're doing, the harder you think you have to work, and therefore the worse you get and the worse you perform, and then it cycles like that. And it took a few months until my fiance at the time just said, okay, leave your phone here, I'm taking you away for the weekend. And we didn't really have the, I was like, how the fuck can we afford to go away for the weekend? I got to hustle. She's like, you're not doing anything anyway, you know. So yeah, let's go, you know. So we went away for a couple days, and I came back and I reset, and I didn't have my phone. I got the same amount done in 5 days as I did in 8, you know. And I started realizing that, and you know, it still happens some weeks. You know, if I'm having a week where I haven't made a sale yet and it's Thursday, I'll just go full Gary V and think, okay, what do I need to do right now? Like, how can I be the biggest hustler in the room? And it just doesn't always work like that, because I'm not going to be at my best. Therefore, I can't expect my clients to perform at their best, and I'm not living in what I preach when I say that. I'm not looking after myself, and I'm just attaching my value to the hours of work I put in. But we all get there in the afternoon at 4 p.m. or even like 11 p.m. or 2 a.m. where you're sitting at your computer, I'm working, but you're not doing anything. Or when you're trying to watch TV with your partner and you got your phone there because you're working, you know. And so I just disconnected from so many areas of my life because I was working, and the more I worked, the less I got done. For me, the switch came pretty much, yeah, when I was on my honeymoon. So it was actually a year in to me doing this. I was getting good results and everything, but I kept on hustling and all sorts of stuff. And those big hustle, rah, let's do it weeks. Some weeks I was making 6 sales, that kind of thing, and feeling really good. And then you crash. And I was on my honeymoon, and Ryan said, dude, why are you on the fucking webinar? Go and hang out with your wife. And I realized that I went and did that, and I enjoyed myself, and everything was fine. And I still got the work done I needed to do, still managed to do everything, and I was healthy and I was happy, and I no longer resented the business I put myself into, because it was actually supplementary to my life rather than controlling the whole thing. So it took a long time for that to come around, and I think that's probably one that I'd imagine a lot of people would feel that, because I still feel that some weeks, and some days. You know, we get through it. We're all worth being here. We all deserve it, right?
Well done, man. It's a really strong message. Great job. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, so mine's really easy. It's marketing. So as I already alluded to earlier, I launched, I think, 19, 20 campaigns with the first niche that I had in a few months. So I remember distinctly, as I said, the 9 campaigns in 10 days. Like I think I did 120 hours in 10 days, just literally obsessed over these campaigns. It was crazy. And yeah, because that was the fundamental reasons why I came into the program in the first place, was to get some kind of quantifiable lead generation tool. So I thought, I have to make this work. This is like it. Like if I don't, Alex says all of his worth was on, you know, money. Well, all of mine was on making ad campaigns work. I was like, if I don't get this thing to work, then it must just be me. You know, I tried that many things over I'd done meetups like Ryan said at the start, never kind of found that to work effectively. Yeah, I made a few sales, but it was nothing consistent. I was even part of an MLM company, right, where I ended up in a Hilton hotel with about 100 different Chilean people in about a 3-month period. having signed 5 of them up to come with me to Chile, Santiago, and launch that. I'd done everything, right? So, yeah, like for me, this was like do or die. I was like, if I don't make this happen, like I'm stuck. Right? So that's why I borrowed the $10,000 from Jenny's dad, which was uncomfortable to say the least, but it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, obviously. So yeah, it was just the marketing for me. I knew for a fact 1 second, I was so, and this was the catch-22 as well. So when Nick talks about booking calls being a problem, I have never ever found booking calls a problem because I was so fucking grateful for every lead that came through I was on the phone before they even dropped in my inbox. I was like, thank God you called. How can I help? Yeah, like it was, I was just so grateful, and I've maintained that that entire period. Like for me, it's like, for me personally, it's like a crime. Like if you don't call a lead, for me it's like a crime because that person has literally, like, I'm just repeating what Nick said, but that person has like reached out for help. Like that is a cry for help, and for you to not help them is like a crime. Like I'm really serious. Like, as I build a team of people, that message is going to be so heavily ingrained into the people that actually sells heads that they better be on the phone before they drop into the inbox or they're out. Like that's just my belief, right? That's my thing about it. So yeah, for me it was marketing.
Awesome, man. I actually really resonate with that as well because I said it today. For the first 6 months, I didn't have leads coming through, so it was all manual marketing. And when the leads finally did come through, it was just the best thing ever.
It's like every birthday in one, it was like, man, this is great.
Because the amount of effort you go through to prospect someone, like just messaging, and you might find someone that's somewhat interested. Like, when you got leads, they're all like just already there. It's great. Was a question? So, yeah.
It's interesting. I think when Sam was talking, he's coming from what I look at as a business mindset, like a business owner instead of like a PT or someone that's come from this, you're trying to get into business. That's a real, from the business side of it, straight away, that mindset, I think. Like the leads, the marketing, what you do, you just need to get it out there. That's really interesting to me. The other three were a quite different angle of what they want to get out of the program.
Meaning that Sam already knew that he needed leads, he wanted leads. Yeah.
And he wasn't scared of it because he wanted us like that. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
Where most, a lot of people, it's the leads they're scared of because you don't know it or you've never done it before.
You don't come because you want leads, you come because you want the business that you don't have to do much of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's really valid because it's like you don't get overnight successes either. Like it just doesn't exist. I'd worked my nuts off for 3 or 4 years, right, selling and doing whatever I could and putting myself out there in ridiculous ways in order to try and get a result. So yeah, like the results that I've had as a consequence of it's not 8 months of work as well. If we're going to be truthful, it's not 8 months of work. Like Ryan gave me the real missing piece of the puzzle that I needed to catapult everything, but it was not 8 months of work. It was like 5 years or 4 years. It's a really valid point.
Yeah, your story resonates with me a lot. That's why I came to the program, just the marketing and getting the names through it to book them. That's what I came for.
It's easy to attach a lot of emotion to it when it is just simple kind of numbers, really. But because of the business we're in and because of why we're here, we attach a lot of value and emotion to it because we're not selling, drink bottles. We're selling life. So it's I want to get it's easy to lose yourself and just forget that it is just a numbers game. Yeah.
Awesome. Good job, guys. Thank you for sharing. Did you guys find that helpful? Yeah. Awesome. And everyone's different. These guys are all different stories, different journeys. And it's somewhat similar to a certain degree for what's making them thrive, but very different. And so it's good to see that different people will resonate with different stories.
Are we doing questions now?
You can do one relevant to that, and then we'll do overall questions at the end.
Oh, no, I'll do.
Okay, cool. No stress. Next question that I had for you guys is a little bit more around how you manage your week to be able to get the core activities and the input points done. Like, what do you... It's going to be very different. Sam's got a newborn baby and he's still did 105k last month. So it's going to be really interesting to see how people manage their week differently. And hopefully you can kind of find a lifestyle or a rhythm that resonates with you based on where you're at. I also know that which of you guys were working full time when you started? Just you were doing part time, so it was cool. All right. Starting off with you, Nick. Talk about your lifestyle on a weekly basis. How do you manage to get your booking calls in, pitches in, your marketing in on a weekly basis? How do you manage your lifestyle? And we joke all the time internally that Nick doesn't do much work, but he actually does the important work. So
Yeah, I do some work. No, I focus massively on the important tasks, which are the phone calls, yeah? So booking calls and pitches, they have to be done, otherwise you're not going anywhere. Which is probably why I don't work as much as someone that does every single task, because I only care about the big ones. But like what, just run through like a normal day for me?
yeah, normal day, normal week. How do you like? Do you pencil in your bookings at a certain time? Do you it's kind of a free for all. However you want to explain it.
So yeah, every day for me is basically the same. So I wake up at like 7:30, and I have a nice breakfast, go to the gym for like 2 hours, and then is that bad?
It's not bad. We shouldn't be judging it all. Like this is all unique person to person. It's fucking.
But it works, but because when I'm off, like the jet on, jet off thing that Ryan told us about ages ago, I take that like really literally. So when I'm off, I'm off, and when I'm on, I'm really on in terms of work and play. So yeah, wake up, sleep in, have breakfast, go to the gym 2 hours, and then I start work about like 11. And then from 11 till 12, I'll do booking calls every day. Because that's when people are like on their lunch breaks or haven't started work, they're doing shift work or whatever, so people pick up more for me in my niche in that time. So yeah, starting with at 11, booking calls for an hour, then I usually have a pitch that I've already booked in previously, starts at 12, and I've saved an hour and a half for that pitch, usually goes for an hour or an hour and a half, and then I immediately start another pitch at 1:30. So I've got blocks in my day where I am pitching, and blocks in my day where I'm doing booking calls. So I'll always pitch at 12 and 1:30, and then I won't book between 3 and 4:30, but that's for more booking calls. And then I'll pitch again between 4:30 and then again at 6. And I'll finish work at like 7:30 at night. So I've got 4 spots each day. I just showed Ricky this before. I've got 4 spots each day where I can pitch. So I try and book in all those.
It's funny, like, don't book out between here and here. I'm expecting you to say you're going to do something else and it'd be like, so I can do more booking calls.
Booking calls get you the pitches, and that's what gets you the sales. But like, that's a perfect world. It doesn't always work like that. So I think, what did we say before? Was it 18?
Yeah, you had 18.
So in my specific schedule, there's 18 blocks in the week where I can do pitches. I don't do 18 pitches. So if I don't have a pitch booked in, I'll either do more booking calls, or I'll tan, or I'll go to the gym or the beach. Like, because that's my downtime. And then if I had that downtime, I'm enjoying myself. So then when I am on, I'm like, I don't procrastinate or work slowly, because I just was tanning for an hour, so I should probably get to work right now. And when I work, and when I...
It's next to the Gold Coast as well. So he can turn.
Yeah, so I guess that answers the question, yeah?
Yeah, that's awesome. When do you do marketing?
Yes, when do you do marketing and Facebook ads? So if you outsource it?
It kind of does itself, I guess. Like I originally obviously set up the campaigns. I was really lucky with pitches, with hook leads. I think it was because it's fitness as well, and because, I don't know, slap my face everywhere. I just got really cheap leads, so I just turned on a hook campaign and hundreds of leads would come through, so I never really had to deal with it. But now that I'm doing campaigns, I'll like tweak my ad sets for like 3 minutes a day. Like if something's not performing, I'll move money from there to here. It literally takes like 2 minutes. But yeah, I just leave the ads on and keep paying for it, and the leads just come through.
The other thing that's worth mentioning is for the first 9 months in the process, even though Nick's in fitness, which opportunity funnels work really well for fitness, he only used hook leads.
Yeah, well, it was working, so I didn't want to change anything.
It's great though. Well, yeah, listen, that's helpful. Yeah.
Well,
but if your ad stopped working, you'd obviously use one of your pitch slots to do a new campaign or something, right?
If it needed to be done, yeah, I would. Yeah. But the campaigns, yeah, the marketing, I don't know, it takes care of itself, but it's set up already. So I just leave it running and tweak the ad sets so they get cheaper leads.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, man. Ricky?
So,
Oh, sorry, Rick. Was it? I just see someone's hand through.
Yeah, I was going to ask, man, do you do much weekend work?
No. I should. But sometimes I do though, and honestly, like, if I've only pitched like 5 times, which is pretty shit, just because for whatever reason, I'll try and book a pitch in on Saturday morning, but usually no. Finish at 6 o'clock on Friday, don't start again until 11 o'clock on Monday.
So you could get more results, but you choose not to. So that you're at the point where you're happy with that balance where, you know, you're making a living, changing lives, but then you've got that life balance where you can, you know, have a lot more downtime compared to some of the other guys that work longer. Is that what you've chosen to do?
Yes, and I did that on purpose. I think I've done it. It's happened by itself because when I did PT, I used to kill myself every week working so much. Now I have the ability to make double what I made doing PT and have so much of this free time. Yeah, and also I had a really bit personal, but it doesn't matter. I had a really bad breakup, and then I was single for a long time, and I never wanted a relationship ever again. Now I have an amazing girlfriend, so if I can spend time with her, I want to do it, and I can by having so much downtime. So I can do this every week for the next 60 years. I'm not going to burn out because I'm never on that much. Yeah, so I do it on purpose. Yeah, good question.
Yeah. And he's making 6 to 9 grand a week, so it's not like it's bad.
Yeah, I make good money, but I could, definitely could make more if I really wanted to. And if I need to buy something, like if I want a new car, I'll just work on Saturday and I'll make more money.
Yeah. It's great. Thanks for sharing. Everyone find that valuable? A good contrast?
Awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah. Ricky.
mine's very different to Nick's.
That's
but
we want to get the variation.
Yeah, and
There's no right or wrong here.
no, but like there's heaps of stuff that like you're doing that I want to craft. I was similar when you were talking before, Alex. Really resonated with what you had said, and growing up, like a lot of my self-worth I'd tied to working hard. Both my parents had a full-time job, but we ran a farm as well. So if we needed more money, it was just more work and put more cattle on and more crops. So even throughout my whole career as working as an engineer, like I'd do stupid hours. I'd do a day shift and a half night shift, 7 days a week. I was just that idiot. And, you know, I've always kind of done that. So starting here, I worked a shitload, and again, I thought it like I had to hustle and I had to work really hard, and I'm kind of probably halfway through untangling that, I guess I'd say. Like it's still something I've got to watch myself on. And I'll kind of describe my week in 2 parts. I'll describe what it used to be like and now what it's like with my marketing, like Nick. Only pretty recently, probably in the last 2 months, it is just ticking over. But I probably didn't launch as many campaigns as Sam. Well, I didn't, but similar thing, like I just launched so many, but was just getting really shit results at the start. So I had to spend a lot of time on the marketing. So what it looks like is my Monday and Tuesday is all around pitching, which I've set up, I've booked in from the previous week, and booking calls for the end of the week. So Monday, Tuesday is I've always tried to, 2 to 3 pitches a day, and then do all the booking calls for the pitches later in the week. I always do booking calls from 11 to 1:30. And when they come through, I've got active campaign. When they come through, it says if they're in Western Australia most of the time. So I normally highlight them and call them kind of towards the end at 1:32. If I call them too early, then most of the time they're like, mate, I'm just on the way to work. What are you fucking doing? Wednesday used to be marketing. And then the weekend was my overflow because I normally couldn't get it done on Wednesday. So I'd work Wednesday. I try to give myself Saturdays off, but when I was starting in the process, I probably didn't have too many off. And then I'd always work Sunday as well. Now my marketing's working. I'm not doing as much marketing. Wednesday, I kind of do a little bit of it, tweak it, check everything's going good. I also have marketing ready to go because there was a time where I launched a funnel and it bombed, and then my whole business screamed to a halt, and it didn't matter how much work I put in. Like I didn't have any leads, so I wasn't going to make any money. So I've always got like backups ready to go, and that's some of the stuff I do on Wednesday. Thursday, Friday is very similar to Monday, Tuesday, which is the pitches that I've got booked in and the booking calls for the next week. And yeah, as I said, I'll do my booking calls from like 11 till 1:30. If I haven't got enough results with that, then I'll try the after work ones. But normally I try to get the results there because some of my pitches are after work because that's the only time that people can book in. So I don't get to do as many booking calls outside that. It's my Sunday now, so Saturday I have off, that's like my day off. Sunday, I used to work it all the time. Now it's kind of half the time I do, half the time I don't. And my Sunday's really dependent on how the week's gone, I guess. If I've hit the pitch numbers and like everything's gone good, I always go in and do my planning because I love it. It just like, it feels heaps better. Like my week's set up, even though if I'm not working that day, I'll just go in for half an hour, have my whole week planned. But again, if I've had like this Sunday, for example, I've got 3 pitches booked in because I knew I was coming down here. I knew my kind of, I had to fly down Tuesday and I'm flying back tomorrow, so I knew my midweek would be a little, how you going? So I booked in pitches for Sunday, but and I do booking calls Sunday as well. This big fella got me onto that and they work really well. So if I don't have enough, like if for whatever reason my pitch number's down, I'll use Sunday to get a couple more booking to pitch calls in. That's probably my setup, I guess. Then I work so I get up at 6 and I work from 8 till 7 normally, Monday to Friday. That's about it, yeah.
Cool, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting us into your routine. It's great.
Alright.
Alex.
I'm a funny one because I actually still I cook 2 days a week, but I like doing that. Like a friend of mine has runs a cafe and he needs extra staff 2 days a week, so I go in and do it because I love it. And he pays me like $400 cash a week, so it's like neither here nor there. But yeah, well, to be honest, it's I've started walking around with $2,000 cash in my wallet and not spending it just because that's fun to do. Highly recommend doing that. That's fun. Just when you pay for something and you're like, yeah, right. So generally kind of doing school runs, that kind of thing. I've figured that out now, but it took me a while. Where I used to be just calling whenever, and now it's lunch and just kind of pre-dinner is a good time apparently. And but the rest of the stuff, like whether it's bookkeeping work or other content that's not Facebook Lives, whether that's like, podcasts and your blogging, whatever kind of stuff you want to do, that's all on my everything else list. So you don't start any of that until you do the top 5 things. And if you know that, because they're the things that matter. Nick says, calls, there's no point doing the rest of it. You got no books to keep if you're not selling anything. So, but having said that, I used to be big time, morning till night hustler. And now what I'm doing, the 2 biggest things I've changed, I still get up at 5:30. I still train in the morning. I still do a big morning ritual and make sure I have a nice slow breakfast and start work at like 8. Is that at some point in the afternoon, I don't meditate, but I do between 4 and 5, I've got no phone with me, and I do yoga, or I go for a walk or for a run, that kind of thing. Really good kind of bookend to the end of, if you've been having a tough afternoon that kind of just rolls into you not actually doing anything, you just realize you're not doing anything and you get outside and you move, get out of your head and into your body, is what Ryan says a lot. So I'm doing an hour a day without the phone. And then also, because the evenings are a mixture of client delivery and pitching, at 8 p.m. every night my phone goes off as well. So these are the 2 big things, because obviously that phone's created like an amazing life for all of us. We can do anything we want with it, but it's such a little sucker that if you have it around all the time, you're only ever half present in business, half present in your personal life, that kind of thing. And so I got recently married, and I want my wife to have a good life, not just an abundant life. So that for me, it means, if that means we got to watch The Bachelor, I'm going to watch The Bachelor. But since I've started doing phone away from me for a couple hours a day, and cutting the time in the afternoon just to have a break, whether it's meditating or a bit of physical movement, it's made enormous changes. The lack of results the results you lose from those 2 hours of pseudo work are replaced so much by the benefits you get from having that time to actually live your life. And then, I take Sundays off most of the time.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Now, Sam's in a bit of a different situation. Substantially less sleep. So talk to us about how you're managing having 2 young'uns, and one of them being a newborn baby, and also managing setting your intention to be the best partner you can for Jenny as well. You said some mental health stuff. Like, how do you balance it all and fit it all in?
I don't. It's challenging. It's. I'll tell you exactly what I do at the moment, but to tell you the truth, like, it evolves a lot, like constantly, because I've got a 3-year-old daughter and a 12-week-old daughter who hasn't understood or doesn't quite know how to sleep yet, which is interesting. And the other one has had a lot of coughing recently as well for the past 10 days. So, Jen and I will quite often, look at the time, it's 2:30 a.m. and we look at each other and you either cry or you laugh. So we just tend to laugh. And then we decide which one we want to go into to stop the crying first. So it's really interesting. But no, the way I schedule my week is really, really simple. Saturday for me is complete and utter family time, like full stop. There's nothing else on a Saturday. It's just pure present family time. That's it, like nothing else. And because I have that, and I know I have that, I can talk about it a lot with my daughter, not the youngest one, she doesn't understand anything yet, but the older one. We get really excited about it. It's really awesome throughout the week, and she knows what the best day of the week is. It's always Saturday. It's a really cool thing. So I always have Saturday off completely. At the moment as well, poor Jenny went for about 12 weeks with having a maximum of 3 hours of sleep in a row for 12 weeks. So she's currently, it's like a form of torture. Like, she's like a zombie. So I don't start until 9 a.m. I help her with the kids up until 9 a.m. Both daughters, and then I also help her from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. which it's a pretty good time to make calls and stuff, but it is what it is. Like, you have to make certain sacrifices at times. So that's the time that I spend with my kids and my family, is generally in the morning, in the evening, and then on a Saturday. And anything other than that is purely spent on doing what I am completely obsessed about, which is the business. I'm just complete, to tell you the truth, I'm just completely obsessed by it, like completely. And actually seeing my family, like Jenny, my wife, my 2 children, is a huge part of the success that I have in the business and where I'm going. It's like, Ryan is so true with what I said earlier. My niche is females, right? So when Ryan said, you've got to be the type of person that your prospects or your niche or your clients want to become, like, I'm very different from who my clients are, but the fact that I have 2 children, I'm a family guy, I've got a wife and everything else, they can relate to me so much better as a consequence of, having those things in my life that I couldn't. So to me, like, the whole thing, like everything, like the way my life is encompassed into what success means to me. So although I'm obsessed with success, I've come to the realization that even my family and everything else is all encompassed into what that is, whereas before I find it really challenging to kind of take myself away from the business and also be present with them. I found that really challenging for a long time because I'm so obsessed with what I do in the business. So in terms of the structure between those times, with the opportunity, it's funny what the guys are saying, but I don't know if you guys know of Russell Brunson. He's the guy that actually is the founder of ClickFunnels, right? And he says you're only ever one funnel away, right? And it's totally true. Seriously, if anyone's struggling with marketing at the moment, it's completely true.
It's the same as all these guys.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
It's been over a year for them.
It's the
But
same.
you're always one funnel away.
100%. And I launched 20 odd funnels before I got one to work. But in December, off the back end of that retreat with Ryan, at Hawaii itself, I said to Jen and my daughter at the time, I said, look, we were all so stressed anyway that it was a non-brainer. I just said, look, you just go and enjoy yourself to the best of your capacity in the situation, and I'm going to create a new funnel. So that's exactly what I did, and I spent about 4 to 5 hours obsessively creating this funnel after speaking with Dan Baldasso and getting a few headlines sorted. And that funnel has provided me with over 3,000 leads in 10 months and is still running today. So it's not exactly the same funnel, it's now a 5-step funnel. I've changed the creatives numerous times, I've relaunched it a few times, so yeah, I've done a lot of tinkering and stuff like the guys have done, but it served me pretty well, and not just that, but all of my leads book into my calendar immediately, and I've got a 50% plus, I'd say around about 50-55% of the leads that I get actually book in. So obviously the other 45 to 50% are in the back end, which you've then got to make the effort to call. But yeah, which is really, really useful for me in my life, because I can just set my online calendar up to a point where, you know, they can book into those slots and those slots alone. So I'll have those for booking calls, and then anything around that is pitches, marketing, and everything else really. It's that simple.
And then it's an opportunity funnel.
Yeah, I started with hooks again, and then this one is an opportunity. You can't have a hook funnel that with people that book into your calendar because they don't know they're going to be called because it's a hook, if that makes sense. So yeah, opportunity funnel, yeah.
It's important to note, if you've heard the story with all of these guys, they've gone through the trenches at the start, learnt to and build the character required to be able to market and sell. And then after that's come to fruition, we've gotten more strategic about how to evolve the quality of the funnels so that they're a little bit more automated, a little bit more leveraged, a little bit easier to deal with. And that'll be the same case with everyone.
You can do it overseas as well, because I've got the same deal with the people book into your calendar. So I was able to do calls from overseas. When I was in a certain time zone, I just flip it to be in that time zone. So I could organize my day so I could get up in the morning in Italy and have people booked in for the afternoon in that period where all the shops are closed. And for the siesta time. So you can get it to that point. That automated point is really cool, and that really allows you that, if you're after that laptop lifestyle kind of thing, one funnel away, yeah. Just adding that in there.
Talk just quickly about your... Talk about how because I don't know who founded the Sunday thing, but you're the one that I heard about it from first.
Calling people on a Sunday.
Yeah. How have you found that?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I started calling people on a Sunday. I work at Sunday is my favourite day to work, actually. I love Sunday because nobody else is working or whatever else, so nobody calls me, so I get far less distractions, so I can actually work. So I just started, it made sense to me that I'd always known in my network marketing days that people get the most kind of anxious at Sunday evening in the thought of them going back to their usual weekly work week and hating what they're doing and all of that stuff. So it made sense to me that if I could at least, provide the average person with this bit of respite by somebody that's actually positive on the end of the phone, talking to them about the fact that they can actually change and create a different life for themselves, even though what I'm selling is health. My belief is that health is a foundation to change everything, like the whole quality of your life. So, it just made sense to me originally to think that why don't I call people from 4 till 7 on a Sunday and lock that in for purely booking calls? Because it just made sense, and I don't do that anymore on the basis that I have people booking into the calendar. But I did that for ages, and I'm telling you now, like those 3 hours, I would set a large part of the week up in those 3 hours. I would book in 5 or 6 pitches in those 3 hours most weeks, basically, for the call, which is what the majority of people do, and I would book them in a 3-hour time frame. So yeah, it was just massive. It was awesome.
What was the time frame that you would book them in on the Sunday? Like, was there a certain time that you would?
4 till 7, yeah. So 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Yeah. So the time where people start to feel shit about the fact they have to go back to their crappy job. Yeah. Then, right then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So provide them that impetus to, you don't have to do this for the rest of your life if you choose not to. And then they're like, oh, really? Yeah, really? You just got to master your health first. And they go, oh, okay, well, I do need to shed a few kilos. I'm like, of course you do, that's why you opted into the plan. How can I help? What's the problem?
Right.
Yes.
Can I just say something quickly?
100%.
Luke's question was really great for me because I feel like what I said may have been taken out of context. I do a lot of work, but I have a more relaxed lifestyle than maybe some of these other blokes. But it's because I'm happy doing that. So if you're not happy with how much money you're making, obviously do more work. Like if I wasn't happy making 6 to 9K a week, I wouldn't start work at 11. I'd start earlier because I want more money. You know what I mean? And if I didn't sacrifice more money to spend more time with my partner, I wouldn't do it because I would work more. So it's in perspective to what you're trying to do, achieve. If I wanted to make 15K a week, I probably could, but I'd have to sacrifice some other things. I'd have to sacrifice gym time, partner time to do more work to make more money. But at this point in time, I don't need to do that. So I'm going to enjoy myself for now. Later on, I may need to make more money and I will work more. So just putting that out there. Don't work 4 hours a day just because I do. If you want to get awesome results, you have to put in the work for sure. Where the money comes from. So even though I'm working less, when I am working, it's the shit that makes money. That's how I can get away with it.
Yeah, good job, man. Thanks for clarifying. The other thing as well, the thing that's great about Nick is you're very similar to Angus. If anyone's seen Angus Fairbairn's case study, I know he's, like I said earlier, he's got a little bit of a bad rap because he did something really stupid, but he's a genuine guy. And the thing that Angus and Nick have in common is that they're very trusting and just follow the process. That's why it took so long for him to question doing bookings, because it worked. We said do it, and he just does it. And that for us just makes like getting Nick results so easy. And like what you aren't aware of right now, because you don't know what you don't know, is how we'll transform your skills, work ethic, ability to take on new activities and open your mind, and we'll transition in the same amount of time you to getting someone on board to help with coaching, you getting someone on board to help with sales, and we'll just slowly build a small team, which will scale it up without having to work heaps more. You don't have to work heaps. Like it's just, again, Nick's a perfect example. He's just doing what's important, whereas most people don't do what's important. They spend most of their time fucking around. Still a work week, still working like a full-time job, but you don't have to be hustling 80-hour weeks to get results. That's just bullshit. Cool, man. Awesome. So the last kind of real main question I have for you guys to tackle as a panel from me to you before we hand it over to you guys to ask questions, and I would start to kind of be brainstorming or thinking about the questions that you do have, because it's an open blank canvas, is just what do you think is either the one to three most important success factors or things that make the difference in this process, and it can span from mindset to routine-based activities to the way that you do a sales call, like whatever. There's no right or wrong. You're not being judged by anyone. Just whatever you think the key success factors are that have made a difference for you, to give these guys advice on how they can progress as successfully as possible. Yeah, so we can
Just yell out.
You go first. Yeah.
I think routine is massive, because obviously like, you have to get the basics done, you have to do X amount of bookings, X amount of pitches. So if you're fluffing around or you don't have a routine and it's 8 o'clock at night, you haven't done bookings yet, can't call people at 9 o'clock at night, it doesn't make sense. So if you have a routine and you know you book in pitches at 1 o'clock, you book in pitches at 1 o'clock. That's what you do.
Yeah.
No questions. And if you do that, you'll always be progressive.
So the first thing is making sure that you've got scheduled time to do booking calls.
Yes. Yep.
And slots to do pitches.
Yep. And if you need to do marketing because you're still at that stage, you're still setting up your campaigns, you book in times to do marketing, and that's when you do it. Yeah. Awesome. 2 or 3. Another one would be the content that these guys give us. And you guys might have seen some of my lives and posts in the group. Like it's cool to have questions, and you're always going to have questions and not know how to do things, but I'll tell you now, every question you have is already answered with video content in the growth membership site. It's all there. Yeah, so if you want to upskill your sales, there's sales skills. If you want to improve your marketing, there's marketing videos. Whatever, everything is already in there. So obviously you can still reach out for help, ask your coach, but if you're not watching the content to improve, you're missing out, because it's massive. Yeah, so improving your skills through the content given to us in the program is massive. I do it all the time. So if my girlfriend falls asleep and I don't want to watch cartoons because I already watched too many that day, I'll watch I'm joking. If I know I want to improve a skill, I just go straight to the membership site, search it, find the video I know I need to improve on. Like if I got a price objection that day on a pitch and it's annoying me, I'll watch some price objection handling content that night because I want to improve. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can't think of a third one.
We'll come back to you. All
Come
right.
back.
Ricky.
Thanks,
Dan.
Top three. So I'll share one that was massive for me, I guess, and how my brain works, or it used to work a bit. So, and I guess the background on that, you know, I used to work in a job where I'd design a $500 million job over 4 years to what we're doing every day. And it had to work because if the retaining wall is slightly off, it falls over and fucking kills people. So it's got to be perfect. You know, you can't half do a retaining wall. It doesn't retain anything. So with this, and the biggest thing that I do, like I nearly just think of like it switching it off. So I'm always talking in metaphors. So I call like my conscious brain Fred. I call him Fred because I tell Fred to fuck off all the time. And with this stuff, right?
Fuck off, Fred.
I always, I constantly catch myself overthinking it. And I just switch that part off because, I mean, you know, you hear it over and over, but it's all there. If you just follow the system, it's going to work. And I switch off overthinking it, or it doesn't need to be perfect, or maybe this ad copy could be a bit better, or whatever the hell it is, and just do it. That's the big thing. It's just switching off the overthinking about thinking it has to be different. And I also, even though it's already all there, spelled out like super simple, I'd find myself going, oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I'll do this idea over here. And I'd just be like, hey, Fred, fuck off, mate.
So what's an example of like an idea that you might pop up into your mind?
Hello.
Fred.
An idea that popped up in my mind. I guess because I've done other stuff before this as well, like running seminars on the weekend and using that as like a lead generation, getting heaps of people in the room. That's what I did in the old business. Heaps of things like that, like other things that you can do.
Best-selling book, let's start a podcast.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff, like podcast, book, all these types of things. Webinars, get an automated webinar. And I'm just like, I've got a list. So the helpful hint of turning that off is I've just got a document that I write all that stuff in. And if I get all my other shit done in the week and I've hit all my targets, all my numbers, I might look at something off that list. But otherwise, it's a list that I do not touch because it's away from here. So that's a big one. The second one, I guess, is... yeah, it's around sorting out the mindset around all of this stuff, and the belief is a big part of it, and one concept of it, but just the mindset of whatever you need to do. Like for me, I told you the switch I made by just kind of, the mindset approach I switched with it was the best way to become the best coach is to coach more people. The best way to get better at booking calls is to have more booking calls. I hadn't even done my full booking call script when I first did it. Because I was like, I've got leads, I've got a lead, I'm going to call it. And I hadn't done my contract when I first signed someone up. I had to ring Frankie and was like, hey Frankie, I just signed someone up. It was my first guy. I'm like, what do I do? And he's like, as Nick said, he's like, type in onboarding in the website and it's there. Oh, okay, cool. So I watched all that, stayed up late, got the contract sorted. So it's just your approach to it, I guess, and changing your mindset around it. For me, it was, I just shifted to, I get better at it by doing it, not doing the training over and over, or not thinking it's perfect, like I'm not building retaining walls, like I'm talking to someone on the phone. And as part of that as well, I guess there's so much awesome stuff here, and like today, and like when we did the sales intensive and all that sort of stuff, this is my take on it, I guess. It's a little bit different. But for me, like, I personally view that stuff as kind of like extra bonuses. But because my actual conversions went down after the sales intensive, I learned heaps about sales, but I got stuck in my head about it and then started thinking I had to change all this stuff, and like it dropped down. And I was like, yeah, I've kind of, you know, if I just get people on the phone, there's all the techniques and there's all these bonuses, you know, that can up my percentages a little bit. But at the end of the day, they're gonna connect to me, or they're not. But you know, I'm gonna explain what I do. They're gonna believe that. So definitely, all those things I view as increases, but I view them as little increases. And I never get stuck analysing that or spending too much time on that to the detriment of not actually calling someone. Because like a 5% pitch conversion, you know, if it goes up from 30% to 35%, doesn't matter if you do 5 less pitches because you focused on this 5%.
Yep.
I think that's a massive kudos to you, because when you came into this process, you were in perfection mode.
Yeah.
To be able to reverse that and actually build it into an asset is phenomenal, man. Well done. It's awesome.
I have no idea how many I said there. Was that 3?
That's right.
2, I think. I think.
2 minutes.
It's all good, man. Let's go to Alex. Awesome job. Thanks for those tips.
The most tangible one I can give you before I ramble is practice. Practice your pitches, practice your booking calls, because even, I don't know, when Nick hasn't worked for 16 hours in a row or whatever, you know, that first call, you're coming in cold, and coming in cold to anything is never great. Now, when you're at a point when you pitch a lot and you make a lot of booking calls, that warms you up for the next one, that warms you up for the next one. The first one of the day is always like the most nerve-wracking one of the day. But if you've spent some time with these people who also have scripts and they've got feedback and they're going to call you out and be honest and be open, what a great asset to have, to be able to just, you want to get better at something, you've got like 100 people you call and get better at it. So if you don't have any leads or a pitch cancels on you, one thing I used to do all the time, I would get myself all kind of in a good state for a pitch. That pitch wouldn't show up. I would get on the growth Facebook page and say, who wants to do a pitch practice right now? And someone would rock up. And yeah, it's a really good state to practice in. And then just make use of the time. Don't go into your head about shit going wrong, and just over and over again get 3 practices in a week. And even if you're not pitching that week, you've done 3 pitches essentially, and you've learned how to do better. So that's a really, really just easy point. Just do 3 pitch practices a week, I would say.
Yeah, I want to pause there because there's a bit of a contrast in information between Ricky and Alex.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that? And the thing is, different people are different. So for Alex, someone that, and I think there's the contrast and the balance in the mix, but some people will really thrive off the extra practice. Some people will thrive off not doing practice. If you're starting out, practice is absolutely essential because you're not pitching much.
Yep.
So you're not getting much practice. When you're pitching all the time, like Alex said, you're not going to need it. But it's important to, that's why we've got a contrast of people up here, because everyone's different. You're going to resonate with something different up here. When you're at the start, practice no matter what. When you're in a rhythm, you don't need to practice as much, but it's still going to be valuable. Like Luke will still, and it's something that I've pushed massively with the team, is to record the calls and listen back over them, so you can actually listen to the contrast and you can point out, see what listen and hear what you're not doing 100%, and you can improve it. So I think it's always going to be an important factor, but I also they're both really important factors. Before you do your next one, let's just stand up and just do a little bit of a stroke.
Yep.
What song? Yeah, can you just double check, is that all good? Yes. All right, let's resume. Point to Alex. Thanks for that one.
The second one is literally just getting so attached to the phrase, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And creating and being the person who your clients expect you to be, and the person that you want them to be, the person you want to be, is being that person. And thinking every time there's a difficult decision to make, or a booking to make, or a snooze button that's calling, or whatever it is, if you're in health and it's a day off the gym, or a donut. A donut, yeah, because I had that donut that one time. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll keep going.
Yes. Every time there's a difficult decision to make that is between comfort and progress, remember how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that is that comes to me, 40 times a day, not just when I've got a list of leads and I'm procrastinating on YouTube, but also when if I'm in the kitchen and I walk past and I leave dishes in the sink, I'm like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I sort that out immediately, go upstairs, and I perform better in business. And that is, and you train harder, and you meditate better, and you're a better partner, and you're a better dad or whatever you are. Show up in every area of your life as best as you can, and that sometimes means showing up with your partner and getting rid of your phone, and it sometimes means showing up, helping your mum, and not making another call, and sometimes it means making another call. It's just how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you get that tattooed on your arm, which I think I might actually do that this weekend, because it's really easy to take the easy route, 1,000 times a day, and it's very rarely the one that gets you any further in life.
Awesome.
You know what I'd say?
Let's just do 2. It's 2, 2, 2.
Yep.
Sam.
That's 3 good ones.
Right.
No.
So, all crap. Now, look, in all honesty, it's pretty hard to go past yours, Ryan. I think focus, action, and certainty pretty much nails it, really, to be honest, in terms of succeeding. But for me, number one is just consistent. There's a great book called The Slight Edge, which if you haven't read that, it's by a guy called Jeff Olson. It's pretty awesome. But consistently repeated daily actions plus time equals inconquerable results. Obviously, the key is picking the right actions that give you the results that you want. So you pick the wrong actions, it'll work not in your favour. The equation is the same regardless. But so that is number one, is just consistency. And point number 2 and 3 are ways in which I've been able to form really good consistency, which is number 1, the morning ritual. I'm serious, guys. If you're not doing that morning ritual every day, you're sabotaging. You're seriously sabotaging. That thing is amazing. And I'm a massive advocate, obviously, of mindset's a huge part of my belief system and everything that I do. And I tell you, every single affirmation that I put in that ritual, it's evolved a lot since I started doing it in September last year, but every affirmation that I've put in that ritual has come true for me. I'm deadly serious. Every single one has come true. So that number 1 will give you a massive amount of consistency depending on the affirmations you use. And the third thing would just be being truly authentic to who you are, which adds to a massive amount of consistency. So we're all laughing at Nick because he plays on his Game Boy all day and whatever else. But at the end of the day, and it is funny, at the end of the day, if you look at the guy, he personifies authenticity. You can see that he's kind of just living in alignment with what he loves to do, right? And as a consequence, he's happy. And when you're happy, if you're into the whole quantum physics thing, right, you attract better things into your life, right? Success does not create happiness. It's the other way around. So if you're not being authentic to who you are, whatever that means, we can tell you what our schedules are, but you have to build a schedule which is based on your values, which I overheard Ryan talking about before. So yeah, for me, some people wouldn't be happy at only spending a Saturday and 2 parts of the day with their children. For me, that's literally perfect, because I don't care who said, I've got very, very good at ignoring what anybody else says with the knowledge that everybody has individual, subconscious values which is separate to them. So what is important to one is not important to somebody else. So yeah, consistency through ritual and just being authentic to who you actually are and not who you think you should be based on societal expectations and norms or parents, which is quite often the case. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Let's give these guys some 3, 2, 1. Boom. So for you guys here, you now have a chance to, that was awesome, by the way. 3 simple questions, a lot of nuggets in there, and relatability as well.
Question time?
It's question time, yeah, thank you for that.
Guys, inspirational stuff. I'm not even a business owner, I'm sitting there and just I'm so calm, so awesome, glad I actually say this. Question for you, Ricky. Scott, one of our latest clients, Anna, she's going to be doing a business mindset coaching. She's watching him live right now. She's asked, what time of day do you do sales, and then what time of day do you actually coach clients?
Yeah, and I realised that when I was talking about it, I kind of left out my delivery, which is quite a large chunk of my time. me and Ryan were chatting earlier about me still getting all the results for people, but untangling myself a little bit.
You could say untangled.
Yeah, I said it just for you. But yeah, so question was, what time do I do sales and what time do I do delivery? Yeah, so
And also portions, like say if you're working 40, 50 hours a week, yeah, how much is going to marketing? How much is going to sales? How much is going to delivery?
Yeah,
That'd be good to get from probably all of you actually.
yeah,
See the splits for it.
cool. So I've got my non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And that's like the winning webinar, my webinars. So what do? I run it different to some people that I've chatted to a few and they run it like me. So I have a group that kicks off every month. So it's a 12-week program. So I'm always running 3 groups, 3 webinars. They're at different times. But whether it's right or wrong, I try and get a time that works the best for the group. It's never going to be ideal, but I just take into account different people's schedules. So that changes when I'm doing the webinars, but it's normally a mix of, my one at the moment is 2 at lunch, 1 on Tuesday, 1 on Friday, and 1's on a Monday night after work. My pitches are, there's no real set time, that's the pitch time. I'll normally have, if I get someone, and I've already sussed out what their timetable is before we even get to that point. I kind of know what they're doing from some of the questions I've asked, so I can kind of anticipate, use more pull energy and be like, this is a slot I got, knowing that that's the slot that's going to work for them, if that makes sense. I kind of a bit sneaky. So I basically each week I try reduce if I can the amount of after hour pitches I do, because I like to spend time with the missus where possible, and a fair bit of the time that'll happen, but then sometimes I'll just have that week that all the bookings I've had, I'm like, oh man, like I'm doing a lot of, like a few more after hours, but it's not as though there's only set times where like, this is the pitch, it's kind of whenever, like I do them at all different times, yeah.
So if you talk about hours, so how many hours roughly do you want to like your business at the moment?
So I do maybe 66 on average. Well, I do 12-hour days Monday to Friday.
The engineer.
It is, yeah. I do 12-hour days Monday to Friday, so 60 hours, and then a half day Sunday, 6 hours.
So how many hours is actually delivering?
Portion, so delivery, okay, so marketing used to be massive and one of my biggest ones, and now I've scaled it right back now that it's working. My marketing's a couple of hours.
Yeah.
If I was to group sort of booking and pitches, that'd be a big chunk, like 20 hours or something like that. Delivery at the moment's probably 15 to 20. What else is there? Marketing, sales, delivery. What's that?
Procrastination. What about eating?
I eat a bit, yeah, like eating. I mean, I've got all the other stuff, like I train a lot. My training routine's gone up a bit more as well. Now I'm starting to think where's all my wasted time? Planning, yeah. So at the end of each day, my last kind of 30 to 60 minutes is planning the next day. My Sunday is basically the whole week planning and tying that week planning back into my monthly goals and my quarterly goals. So there's a fair bit of planning in there, and then I guess there's probably 5 to 10 hours of dicking around by the sounds of it.
That's normal.
And contrasting with Nick, so how many hours would you roughly be on each week, and then what are your portions? So how much is going to marketing, how much is going to sales, how much is going to actually delivering the service?
Yeah, so obviously I start late in the morning, so I start at 11.
Let's just try to go hours. Just like boom, boom, boom.
40 hours
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm unique in my delivery in that everything is OCD perfect, so they don't actually need me to deliver it. But if they have questions, they text me and I reply straight away. So if you added up all the 1 minute sections I text, I don't know, maybe like 5 hours, 10 hours delivery a week, which doesn't sound like much, but it's only because I tried so hard to make everything perfect. So they don't actually need on the delivery, but everything's given to them. So it works well for everyone.
So no Facebook groups or anything like that, it's just purely an online program.
There is a Facebook group and membership site, but again, that takes care of itself. It's not really man hours on my part.
You don't need to go out and speak or...
I'll upload content in there, but I make content on the fly. 30 seconds here, 1 minute there, post 3 seconds. So it's so short, I don't have to count it in my hourly routine because it's so quick and so on the fly. Yeah. Marketing,
sales?
2 minutes a day. Sales, pitches, ideally 2 to 3 pitches a day, 3 to 5 hours of pitches, and then maybe 2 hours of booking calls a day with dials, people not picking up, conversations, and then follow-up texts and content between the pitches and bookings. Yeah.
Week on the business, over 4 days. Of that, I would say it's a pretty good split between delivery and prospecting, especially because right now I'm building my next program as I go. So that does sell a program before it's finished, by the way. It's a great way of doing it. And then you figure out what people need. So at the moment I'm filming 4 or 5 videos a week to go in the program. But I would say pretty similar split to how Ricky's doing it. Ricky and I seem to be on a similar chain of how much we deliver. I do webinars as well. I do a 1-hour webinar. I do very, very little marketing. My marketing comes more into Facebook Lives, which I probably do, maybe an hour a week worth of Facebook Lives, which will be involving planning them and delivering them. I usually do about 5-10-minute lives a week. And I do longer sessions with a lot of clients at the moment because I think I work with a lot of ladies who've got a lot of mindset stuff going on. So I book in 15-minute calls with everyone. I put a link up on Mondays for them to book into my calendar for the hours I've set. So in theory, I should be doing 15 minutes times however many clients I've got, which is somewhere between sort of 10 and 15 at a time. But in the last 3 days, I've had 3 people message me say, hey man, I'm having a really shitty time. So I hop on with them for half an hour to an hour when they need it. And so it's probably about half every day, client delivery, and then about 5 to 10% marketing. Is me, yeah.
We'll just wrap up.
Yeah.
Keep questions flowing. John.
This is probably for everyone. When you first mention the price of your program in kind of booking call, is it halfway through the pitch or at the end? Like, where does that
Just get Ricky to answer it. This is similar to you.
Okay, Ricky.
So I don't mention the price on the exact price, but right near the start in the booking call, I'm just going to be straight up front with you. I don't do cheap online programs where you get shitloads of people in. It's a premium product. I only work with a couple of blokes at a time, so I'm not telling them the exact price, but I'm like, it's not really cheap.
Yeah.
It's going to be,
Your frame.
some cost.
Yeah.
If they ever bring up the price, which used to happen more when I probably wasn't as, I don't even know how you call it, holding the power in the phone call more. They'd ask a bit sometimes. That happens very, very rarely now. If it does, I don't dodge it by like, oh, no, we'll only talk about that later if you qualify. I just say, we've got a few different ones. The very bottom starting point starts at 75 a week. And, goes up to 20K depending on where you're at. And then I kind of move forward with something else. But that's how I handle it, I guess. But as I said, it doesn't come up much at all now. It used to a bit at the start. Yeah,
It's a good point. The proactiveness of being someone that gains respect using love and leadership has a lot of the sales problems that I hear questions around not even exist, just by building that confidence on the phone. Cool. Next question, guys.
Could Sam answer that one also?
Go for it.
Or Alex, mindset women.
Yeah, I always find these questions interesting because for me now, like at the start, I followed the scripts pretty much to a T, just changing it somewhat slightly to my niche and to where I was, like more or less literally. The sales process, like on that membership side, as the guys were, is amazing. So I just followed that. But now, every call is completely variable. So I'll get a very, very quick idea as to who I'm speaking to on the phone, what job they're in, how much income they've got, how many kids do they possess, are they single, are they married?
Possessed.
That's all.
Look, I've just, you know, I had a woman last week sign up with 11 children, right? So, yeah, no, I'm not joking. So anyway, and 8 still live with her. But,
She a Labrador?
no, but anyway, so like it, for me it depends. Like I bring the kind of, I don't bring up the price necessarily as it is, but I talk about a premium program depending on where they're at. Like if they've got no money, I'll bring it up early. If I know they've got no money, I'll bring it up pretty early, basically, and say, I can sense that once I give them some value and they can see that I know what their problem is, so they can see I'm the expert and that I've got what it takes to solve it, I'll then say, okay, cool, like I'm just going to tell you straight, like this is going to be a premium offering. I could offer you a $500 program and you'll do that, you know, you'll pay for a $500 program every year for the next 10 years if you would like to do that. And they always go, no. Yeah, okay, cool. So you're okay if we continue with the thought in mind that whatever, if we end up working together, it's going to be a premium offering. Are you cool with that? And if they're not, then I'll stop speaking to them. If they are, then they're cool and I'll keep going. So just be really honest with people straight away and just say, look, I'll give you a cookie cutter type program and you can fail again, or we can actually solve the problem. It's very, very fair. Basically, it's like, do you want to get fit for your wedding, or would you like this to be a, you know, part of who you are for the rest of your life? And the price will be accordingly.
So one brand mindset challenge, is there one that sticks out that you've found in your work? One barrier?
Is this with clients that he works with?
Clients that you work with, one mindset barrier that keeps coming up?
Yeah, like, but as I say to every single one of my clients, like, you know, life is a game, and Ryan will probably, I'm sure, would agree with this. Life is a game until you work out how to master the game, and the way you master the game is just unconditional self-love and self-belief, really. It's just changing your own self-image. It's like, you know, whoever you perceive yourself to be is exactly what you will get. So that's always the biggest stumbling block, is people just not believing. Often in my case specifically, like women have done 15 different programs, Carla Ritzeners, Michelle Bridges, blah, 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 right? So their belief is so low as a consequence of them not thinking that they can get results, that's the fundamental issue. And that I also use that a lot in the close. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then you'll generally procrastinate. So, you know, if you want to continue to procrastinate, then you can do that and not commit now, but I highly suggest you don't because of X, Y, and Z. So, yeah, it's like belief.
What other questions do we have, guys? Think about your situation and something you've got a sticking point around, and go for it.
Okay, going back to the marketing specifics of when you were starting out. So with the campaigns, the one I've launched 9 now, I think.
Sure.
And how much ad insights were you moving around? Like how many ad audiences did you explore before you sort of found gold?
Well, I'll give you my. Yeah, okay. So I'll give you my view on it. There's probably others marketing that's going even better than mine, but I got really obsessed with that at the start, and Dan can probably tell you that I bugged the shit out of him. I was like, I need more interest, like I need more targeting, what's going on? I feel like I'm using the same ones. I use pretty similar ones, and I'll always just go to the suggestion one, but I've found that it doesn't seem to matter much with me. I'll launch one campaign and a couple will go good and the others won't, and then I'll launch the next campaign and it's the opposite. So it's definitely, I think if you did something crazy, like completely different to what you're doing, then yeah, it'd make a big difference. But if you've got like, I've kind of got a core 10 to 15 that I always use, kind of related around my stuff. But there's the generic ones, like, you know, Tony Robbins and whatever, Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, and then every time I launch it, I'll just go some random ones. So a random one I found working is if they're a Facebook admin, it makes sense because they might be running a page, means they probably have a business, okay, they might be, but yeah, it wasn't as, I used to think that was like I'd obsess over it, but I've found like it constantly changes for every campaign and it kind of wasn't as impactful, but that's just what I found. I don't know about you guys, if you use shitloads of different interests or the same ones.
I do 5, each campaign, 5 ad sets. Within each ad set is 5 different ads. Yeah, and so it's going to be in each ad set is an interest, And then within each interest, there'll be 5 ads with 5 different images and slightly different copy in each one. So
Always new interest every 5, you're doing introducing new interest, or you?
yeah. So there'll be in the health and fitness space. It's easy. You search Michelle Bridges or some Biggest Loser, that kind of thing, and click the suggestions. And I think the cool thing is that Facebook works it out so you don't waste money on the ones that aren't working. It says, okay, where's this? Say you put $10 a day into an ad set. It says, okay, which of the 2 of the 5 ads are actually performing well, and it puts the $10 in them. So it's not wasting money eventually. So, and that's how I got my campaign to the point where, I've got leads coming every day. It's because Sam and I, we were in Melbourne, we sat in bed together, which was nice after a jacuzzi session. And he helped me put together 5 ad sets and 5, and every time I go, it's at that 5-5-5 kind of rule. Splits it up really evenly. You do.
Yeah, and so what he's saying is essentially you can have as many ads per ad set as you want, and Facebook will essentially just pile all of the money that you allocate into that ad set to whichever ad is performing the best. So there's no point in producing 1 ad per ad set. There's just no point. You may as well do 5 or 6. And it'll just allocate the money accordingly. So
with very minimal changes in between, kind of just
change
an image
one thing,
or
otherwise you don't know what works. So just change the creative. I would personally just change the imagery. So 5 different images, same ad sets or same copy, same topic, so you can actually see which images. But if you change more than one thing, like you don't know what's working. So
I'll throw something. Won't actually answer the question. I think it will help a lot of people that are starting. I didn't have this problem, but I know it exists. Getting cheap leads is important, obviously, because you spend less money, but if you get a sale from 1 lead, you're going to make like $3,000. So, not that you're doing this or anyone, but if you're spending so much time worrying about getting cheaper leads to the point where you're not doing campaigns, booking and pitching, you're looking at it the wrong way around. So just be a bit less scarce with cheap leads and just get them through and pitch them and worry about that stuff when you're being more consistent with your sales. That's mine.
My leads for the first couple of months were like $100. Then it went to 100 to 80 to 60. But I didn't give a shit.
You're still
If I
pitching
could get a
and
sale, I was pitching and making a sale, and then now it's down to like 12.
If you get a lead for $100, but you're selling a $3,000 program, you're not going to give a shit that you paid $100 for that lead versus $3. So get cheaper leads later, but you got to pitch.
I'll just add, as soon as we're talking about this whole lead stuff, what I noticed, there's a hell of a lot of high quality sameness, as I would call it, in the marketplace in terms of ads. If you go on your news feed, there's just so much high quality sameness, as I would call it. So if you want to actually stand out in a crowd, whatever you do is going to be a pretty crowded marketplace, probably, especially on Facebook. You just have to, the ad has got to be authentic to who you are as well, to a degree, I believe, and have some kind of spin on it or some kind of point of differentiation, because otherwise you just don't stand out and you're the same as everybody else. But I found that to help with lower, better quality of leads and a lower cost as well.
Yeah, very true.
So with Dean,
Mine is just a quick one. Do you guys still refer to this group a lot as say pitching and booking and whatnot, or no?
I do massively, but we haven't worked out that's how I operate. But everything's very structured for me, so I have every time I do a booking or a pitch, I open the PowerPoint that has my script. I'm not even looking at it all the time, but it's always there. And as we noticed the other day, and this is just how I operate, but my onboarding, I didn't have like a PowerPoint script for it. So, but I'd always pre-frame the freak out because I just knew that's what you did. And I forgot it the other week for a couple of people that signed up and they all bailed. And for me, that's only for me and how I operate, but I'm like, that is needed for me. How I make my morning smoothies, I have a fucking script. It's like fruit, the nuts, it's just, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to use brain power on what am I putting in this again? Or wait, has it got this? So for me, but I don't know, I guess it's how you operate.
again, if there's something you can learn from the panel, it's that people are different. And so you're not there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just you just do it,
in your own unique way.
I can add to that, Max, because this is something I had to deal with. I was doing scripts and I was literally reading it off the paper while I was pitching. And then when someone threw me off, I was like, oh, fuck. I didn't know what I was doing. And I told Frankie that. And he said, Nicholas, what you're going to do is you're going to read that script in front of the mirror. Just read the script. Read it. Looking at yourself in the mirror like 100 times. It's the same as the pitch practice. You're going to get better. You're going to know what's in there. And then throw the script away, but keep the structure. And pitch off that structure. So find goal, leverage, seed price, whatever your structure is. You know how to talk about that structure in a conversation instead of a script, and it becomes more authentic. And people, you can have a conversation, which you connect, and that's how you're going to make sales. Yeah. So scripts are good at the start, but once you know the structure, ditch it.
I'm just going to quickly wrap up on that. And even if you looked at me, if I was to jump on a pitch call, I would even know in the back of my head the set little checkpoints that I want to hit throughout the call. And there's not many of them. It's kind of like state the objective, and here's how I flip it to asking questions about the program, and reframe hard, and that's pretty much it. And just stick to truth. But I still have those checkpoints, in the back of my mind that it gives it a structure. I'm not just completely freestyling.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's exactly what I do. It's just implanted.
Yeah. I'll really quickly add, it's not, I'm at no point reading from it, it's just that structure.
It's a frame of reference for
it. And I always I probably don't even look at it that much, but it's there if I want to glance back. I'm like, oh yeah, sweet, I haven't got his leverage, or whatever. Yeah.
Job.
Can you talk about pre-framing the breakout as well? Like you said, you do it.
Yeah.
How do you
Well, I guess how I do it is, so they've signed up, they're like, sweet, I want to do it. I've got a video on a funnel that I send them to. It's kind of like, welcome to the tribe funnel, that does it as well, but I also do it on the call, and I'm just going to there's a couple of key elements I hit from it, I guess, and with my program and what I do, I'm just like, right, cool. What you've just done is you've stared all your fears and your anchors and your blocks in the face, and you've done this, and you've beaten them, but it's triggering. All the stuff that we've just done and you making this commitment is bringing up all this shit. So it's going to be very natural that when you get off this, you're going to, they're going to be attacking you. You're going to be under attack because you've beaten them, but you normally don't because they normally always win. So you've beaten them on this little battle, but it's only just begun and we haven't started the program yet. So from now until our next, our first breakthrough session, you're going to be under attack. So just realise that, but just see it for what it is. It's just all this bullshit that's been holding you back, and just get excited and just keep giving it the finger. That's how I pre-frame it, I guess. And then I send them a video that has a pre-frame around people around them. So I pre-frame you're going to tell your missus this, and she's probably going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? This is bullshit, you're spending 5K. They don't understand. They can't see, they don't know what you're experiencing internally. This is your fucking shit, you know what's going on, we've talked about that, we're here to fix that, no one else is going to understand. You're going to tell your mates and they're going to be like, oh, he's ripping you off, oh, that's bullshit, oh, that's whatever. Because I've been there, because I've done all the programs, so I pre-frame them personally on the phone, and then my video pre-frames what everyone around them is likely going to say. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. We've got room for 2 more questions.
Yeah, just a quick one. Sam, you missed out on your time spent talking to your clients. I was just wondering, in that big month where you had a lot of success, how much interaction do you have with your clients during that time? Because obviously there's a lot of new clients. What sort of time do you put?
It's a good question. It's a fucking great question. This is variable for me, depending on, it's not a set block every week. So just to give you a bit of context, I have a pretty comprehensive breakthrough for each client as part of the program that I do, which is a 3 to 4 hour session, face-to-face over video call. That's the biggest bit of one-to-one time. With the exception of that, there's an induction session, and there's no other one-to-one time except for feedback every week, depending on accountability forms, etc. Right? So for that week, and for this program that I've got up and coming, there are 25 women on that, right? So, and I've got to get the breakthroughs done over probably a 3-week period. So if you just think about that, that's 100 hours of breakthroughs in 3 weeks. So this is going to be fun. So for those weeks, obviously there's a hell of a lot more delivery than there is anything else, and I'll build the sales calls around that. and intertwine them with that. And essentially that's what my life will look like for 3 weeks is delivery sale, and then a bit of time with my daughters and wife. But usually there's not, I don't have a hell of a lot of one-to-one. There's not that much, real one-to-one delivery time. It's just if they really need me, I actually pre-frame again and make them laugh at the same time because I'm dealing with females as well. So I said to them, look, I'm not going to be, available for 2 hours every day on the phone to chat, and they laugh and they kind of get that. But I said, but at the end of it, but also if you really seriously need me, then yeah, reach out. I'm here for you 24/7. So, and when you say that, they respect your time so much more, so they generally don't call me anyway. So yeah. Hope that answers that.
This is for anyone. So what's the biggest piece of advice you got? The majority of guys here are working, yeah? So in that transition from getting their business, their coaching business working to their generating income, so they go full time. Biggest piece of advice to where they're at now to get to where they can quit their job, yeah? What would you say?
Now marketing for me. Like there are 5 components of a business: marketing, sales, delivery, operations, finance, right? There's no point in worrying about finances, operations, delivery or sales if marketing doesn't work. If you have an abundance of leads coming in, right, unless you want to waste your money spending money on ads and not calling them, which I don't recommend, right, then you can't really go too far wrong, because a whole abundance of leads equals a whole abundance of sales calls, which equals getting very good at selling, as the guys have already, articulated earlier on, which equals a whole bunch of people to deliver to, which then eventually will lead to you having to worry about operations and then what to do with all of this money that you create. So yeah, just nail the marketing and pester him at the back.
Do you want to add to that as well, Alex? Because you did transition from full-time job.
I did, yeah. You're essentially making the choice between time and money when you do that. So I was initially going for time, and which I was compromising time is what I mean. I was working full time, then coming home every night, doing funnels till 1 a.m, that kind of thing, and then trying to find some place to call people in between that. And it didn't work for me. This is less of advice, but more of kind of experience of both sides of the coin. When I was compromising time, that's when I was in that burnout stage where I hated my business, because I was at work where I was in control, I knew what I was doing, and I'd come home and I would think, oh fuck, I've got to do this again. And it was just keeping me tired and stressed. When I flipped it and I quit my job, I started compromising money. It allowed me to build it gave me the love back in my business, I suppose, is what it did, because I allowed myself to get better at it. And I was blessed because I was able to compromise money for a brief period until it ran out. And so if you can and you believe in yourself full pelt because you've been doing pitch practices and you listen to your coaches and you've got that self-belief, my whole life changed once I went for it, I suppose. And I think most people, they do. It's the people who don't play full out that will always never get full out results. It's my big thing. Get your certainty to a point where you believe in yourself to quit, and be prepared that you might run out of money, but it's just part of the process. Don't freak out, because you listen to you read Phil Knight's biography, the guy who started Nike. He worked full time for the first 3 years when he had Nike. He was an accountant for 3 years while he was doing $8 million of sales a year, and he always had $0 in his bank account. It's just part of the process. There's going to be times when he was compromising time and money, but I think just realize that it's all part of it. It's going to happen, and the burnout's not a good place to be there.
I'll add something really quickly. I didn't do it, by the way. I just quit my job and went all in. But I think you said this in a different context, Ryan, but it's always stuck with me, and I say it a lot with my clients, is that transition period, because I've coached some clients through it, although I jumped straight in myself. It's going to go for as long as you make it. And I personally think that it's not sustainable to do that long term, because you know, how the fuck are you going to keep that up for a long time? So it's going to go for as long as you make it. So you're going to, if you put in a shitload of extra work and extra time and get it to that point where, because there's pros and cons, right? The pro of still having a job is you've still got money. The con is you've got no fucking time. So if you shorten that time period down, then that's going to allow you to make the transition. If you're you're like, oh, I won't put too much work in, and you just make that super, super, super long, I feel like you're probably just making it hard for yourself and you never get there. That's my opinion, I guess. But yeah.
Penny, would you be okay with sharing your kind of experience with that? Because Penny's kind of done that without throwing you under the bus. It's fucking worth learning from.
I work full time. I've got a family of 4 kids and I'm single. So not that everyone's situation is different, but I do find the time to do business a difficult thing. But I came in because I was so passionate, like everybody, about building business, and I guess for me, I've had peak periods and low periods, and the peak periods have been when I have done what was it Ricky just said, just go all out and just sacrifice the time. But time with my family has suffered because of that. But I didn't. So I got some breakthrough, which has been really great, but the consistency, I haven't been able to sustain that. So I'm still in my job, and I'm just, I guess, regrouping again to sort of put that time in, because what Ricky says is really resonated with me about the fact that, you know, I've just been a little bit more kind of, it's all just too hard to try and make it work. But it's, if I tap into my own leverage and really just decide, well, this is really what I want, then, I've got to actually do that time. And what you said, Ricky, was so true about it's as long as you want to make it. And for me, it's been longer than I really wanted to. It's just been, I guess, my journey.
Because just to summarise, and the only reason I'm doing this is because I think it's a beautiful case study for people to learn from as well. And so Penny was in for a year and then re-signed and was in for a few months. And we had a chat and we both kind of agreed. I strongly recommended that she jumps back out of the process to regroup her finances, because you can't be in the process for a long period of time and not get the breakthrough, because you can't just keep doing the same thing, And it's not, for Penny, it's just a regroup, and she'll just go straight back in, and she'll have to transition quickly, okay? But if you miss your gap and you quit your job, you've got a set time period, like a ticking time bomb, of when you've got to go get a fucking job again if you don't make it work. And if that's what has to be done, that's what has to be done, yeah? There's no shame around it, it's nothing wrong, like you just didn't make the transition because you didn't market and sell it. If that's the case and you can get the cash flow from it, it's not the end of the world, but you've got to be realistic about it. You can't just quit your job and be like, sweet, it's all going to work out for me. Well, it is if you get the hang of marketing and selling through the time period that you've got the finances to allow for that to happen. Now, if you don't have that and you don't suffice it in that window, well, go back to a job. If you're in a job trying to transition, you can't sustain working super long hours in business and super long hours on your job. And if you've got 4 kids and you're a single mother, then it's not going to be easy, But you'll still do it. It's just going to be a different journey.
Yeah, and the thing is that I have had breakthrough, and it's all to do with telling some of the guys at lunchtime. It's so related to input. It's exactly what we were talking about today.
Yeah.
It's just,
tell us about the breakthrough.
I had the higher input, and it worked, and so,
Can you tell us specifically, like you did the higher input, how many pitches were you doing and how many sales were you making?
6 a week.
Yeah. And how many sales would you make?
I made 4 sales in a couple of few weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, so and for me, that showed me that that's what it takes.
Yep.
It's just the pressures of my life, kids, whatever.
It's a consistency.
It's just consistency, and then as you say, you can't just drag it out, and so I had to step back. So it's regrettable in one sense, but it's a learning for me.
I think it's just a learning thing.
Yeah,
I don't think there should be guilt or regret there. I think it's a phenomenal learning experience for you, and you're so early on the journey as well. Most people go, whoa, she's a year. This is a 50 fucking year journey. It's a fantastic learning experience, and there's nothing to be ashamed of or hide from, because for me, I don't look at something and go, wow, it hasn't worked. It does work, it doesn't work. It always works to the degree to which you input. So for me, I'm never emotional. If someone's like, but I've got a family and I've got this money, I'm thinking, yeah, same fucking deal with everyone. It's just an input game. I don't feel like them. Do they want their business on it? Like, it's not like I've got anything that I'm risking for them. It's just always input. If you do it, you'll make it work. If you don't, you won't. Like even with Penny's situation where she's having to step back, when she did the work, she still got results. It's always the case. So it's good for everyone to know the broad spectrum and just know that you'll fit somewhere within that.
Can I just share one more thing? Because, you know, these guys are absolutely gorgeous, love you all. But as a mum, as a woman, and, you know, it's easy for us to say, well, it's all good, well and good for the guys.
Yeah.
It's, you know, as a woman with kids, you know, the pressure is to be there, more time for the children, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I just want to say it's actually not true. The system works for everybody. The system works no matter what situation you're in, and it's really just about following the process. And it doesn't matter if it takes that bit more time, like to find 40 hours a week. 60, however many a week on business. It's a very different thing to say, you know, 3 or 4 hours a day, you know, sort of squeezing it in between, you know, runs through the children and doing all the other stuff you have to do when you're working. So, yeah, both still.
Do you use a calendar, Penny? Like, do you use the calendar? Like, do people book into your calendar?
No, I love that idea.
Yeah, you got to do that. That old man to do that. Yeah, you have to do that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really humbling and brave and courageous for you to say that. Really appreciate you saying that. And for Penny, like, paused her. I've let her jump in the group for the next 3 months of the webinars and invited her to today because we want to see her thrive. You know? So Penny's still going to be in the family and the community to take a step back. And you might have to do that at some point after your first 12 months as well. But the first 12 months is your window where you've made a commitment, you're going to dominate and give it everything, and you either make it work, or you can either choose to go, well, this isn't for me, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. Or you can just keep doing what you need to do and make it work. It might be a longer transition for you. You might make sales in the first week, like some people. But everyone's different, and that's what we want to get out. That's what I want you guys to get from this, which is awesome. So
I clicked about 10 months in for me.
Yeah.
It took about 10 months, and then I clicked, and then it's been fine. But the thing that you said about 50 years just then, that's the most important thing that changed the whole game for me, was that I couldn't sit here and think, fuck, Nick Arachi came in after me and he's making 6 figures after 6 months. And, oh, here's some hot shot on Instagram with a Lamborghini. He's 26 years old. I had to think, 10 months ago I was cooking omelets and now I'm on a boat in Hawaii doing a Facebook Live to you know, a bunch of people who want to hear my advice. You got to think about your own timeline and no one else's. It's the changes you've made, because you'll all be making changes really quickly and massively, but it's easy to forget when you see other people doing better than you, but it's doing it different.
I want to add something just quickly on the question of how can you transition, because I did it when I did PT. Sacrifice and routine was my biggest thing for me. So like, everyone's situation is different. Like for me personally, some mornings I had like 4 a.m. clients at PT. So I'd get to the gym at 4 a.m. and then I'd be there until 6 o'clock at night, on and off with sessions, and then I'd pitch at 6 o'clock, 6:30. I didn't want to do that, but I had to. So I sacrificed, and I knew that I was pitching after work because I set that time for pitching. If you do that enough times, you'll make sales, and then you'll be able to switch over. Like if you work a 9 to 5 job, you can pitch at 5:30 every day. And you know you have to pitch at 5:30. If you're booking calls in lunchtime, pitch at 5:30 at night time, that's 5 pitches a week, make 1 sale, $3,000. But you have to sacrifice family time to do that. And you have to have it set in your routine, otherwise you won't do it by trying to slip it in. You know you pitch at 5:30, so you book someone in at that time. And plus you've got weekends. So transitioning sounds hard, and everyone's situation is so different with number of kids, families, single mums, whatever it may be, but everyone's got their own routines and sacrifices they can make to make it work and make the switch. Because you're here to make the switch, so don't prolong it. Figure out how you can sacrifice and set up a routine to make it happen, and just do it. That's what I did.
So I'm going to be 100% honest. Like, the thought for me of having to work like those sort of hours, because I don't work those hours now, I've got a great balance. And the thought of doing what I did when I started this is very, like, it makes me feel anxious because I'm in a routine where I don't have to do that. I don't know about you, Nick, but you going back and doing it again, you're probably like, fuck, I'm through that now. And there'll be times where I probably have to at some point in my journey, but then I remember back and go, hang on, but I actually did do it. I started this business. I would literally 3 a.m., 5 a.m. I was working to some nights doing content. I'm sure you guys have watched some of the old content where you've heard me yawn in it. That's because I'm filming it at fucking 3 a.m. Legit.
Yeah.
Like 3 a.m. I would pitch all day and I would deliver after hours. I'd start at 7 a.m. every morning and then sometimes I'd finish at 5 a.m., sometimes midnight, sometimes 3 a.m. And I did that for the first 6 months. And so I kind of feel nervous about it thinking about it now, but then I'm like, hang on, I fucking did it. And if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be here today to be able to have a nice lifestyle. Nick, everyone's going, yeah, I'll choose that option. You know, some people think, yeah, that's me. But Nick still fucking sacrificed to get to the point. And that's why we call it a hustle season. Because the season transitions and changes. You can't do it forever. We've all said it, it's not sustainable, but we've all done it. And if you're not going to do it, then you're not going to get to the point where you transition to summertime or whatever it is. You're going to have to get through that hustle season. And it's optional. Like, it's not like we hide away from it. It's in the sales process. We hammer it. I say it on every live, every coach the coach, they say it, we all say it, the coaches say it. Like, no one's hiding from it. You got to transition through the hustle season and then you do it and you'll get to where you want to be or you won't. And that's just something you've got to take ownership for. Not feel guilty about, just take ownership for. Yeah. Cool, guys. Good segment. Let's give these guys some massive
On you, Sam.
We're going to take, can someone let me know the time?
Yep. 4:30.
4:30. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll be back here at 4:40, and then we'll spend a little bit of time doing one final activity to help wrap up the day. Okay, and then I'm going to be taking the winners out for dinner somewhere nice, and everyone else is going to be heading to the pub to interact. And I actually got stuff on, it's completely fine, but to just have a pub, it's just across the road, just walk there, have a chance.